The aroma of sizzling bacon and freshly brewed coffee filled the air as Jay wiped the counter of the small diner in downtown Chicago. At just 16, life had been anything but kind to him. Orphaned at birth, he had no recollection of his parents and had spent his life bouncing from one foster home to another before deciding to fend for himself. He worked at the Golden Plate Diner to survive, juggling long hours with his high school studies, dreaming of a better future. One afternoon, as Jay hurried to serve tables, a well-dressed, arrogant man stormed into the diner. His expensive suit and gold watch screamed wealth, but his scowl hinted at his foul mood. He sat at a table and impatiently placed his order. "I want my steak rare and served within 10 minutes, the man barked, glaring at Jay. Jay nodded respectfully and passed the order to the kitchen. However, the kitchen was unusually busy, and the steak took longer than expected. As Jay approached the table with the food, the man stood up, fuming. "What kind of pathetic service is this?" he yelled. "I have places to be. Do you think my time is worthless?" Jay remained calm. "I'm really sorry, sir. The kitchen is—" Before he could finish, the man cut him off. "Don't give me excuses, you useless brat." The entire diner fell silent as customers and staff turned to witness the commotion. The owner of the restaurant, Mr. Carter, a short-tempered man, rushed to the scene. Without bothering to hear Jay's side of the story, he raised his hand and slapped Jay hard across the face. "I won't have my business ruined by your incompetence," Mr. Carter snapped. "Apologize to the customer, or you're out." Jay, his cheeks stinging from the slap, clenched his fists. He knew he had done nothing wrong, but years of struggling to survive had taught him that life was unfair. Fighting back would only make things worse. Swallowing his pride, he whispered, "I'm sorry." "Not good enough. Get out of my restaurant," Mr. Carter shouted, shoving him toward the door. Jay turned, his heart heavy with humiliation and despair. Just as he was about to step outside, a deep voice interrupted the tense silence. "That's enough." A tall, imposing man in his early 40s rose from a nearby table. He had sharp blue eyes and an authoritative presence. "I saw everything. This kid did nothing wrong. You humiliated and fired him for no reason." Mr. Carter looked taken aback. "Sir, I don't want to hear your excuses," the man said. "What you did was disgraceful." The man turned to Jay. "Come with me." Jay hesitated but felt an unexplainable trust in the man. With nothing to lose, he followed him out of the diner. The man introduced himself as Alexander Anderson, the CEO of Anderson Enterprises, one of the leading business empires in America. "Tell me about yourself, kid," Alexander said as they drove through the city. Jay recounted his life story, how he had never known his parents, how he struggled to survive alone, and how he worked tirelessly to study and earn a living. Alexander listened intently. Then after a moment of silence, he said, "You've got spirit, Jay. I like that. How about working for me?" Jay's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Very. You deserve a real opportunity." Over the next 10 years, Jay worked relentlessly, proving himself invaluable to Anderson Enterprises. But it wasn't an easy journey. Being an orphan and a former diner worker, Jay faced constant humiliation in the corporate world. Senior executives ridiculed him, calling him a street rat who had no business in the corporate world. They gave him menial tasks, purposefully setting him up for failure. On multiple occasions, Jay overheard whispers in the hallways. "He's just a charity case," Alexander took in. A nobody trying to act like a businessman. Despite the cruelty, Jay persevered. He worked day and night, learning, innovating, and making contributions that saved the company during difficult times. Even when his ideas were stolen or his reports sabotaged, he refused to give up. Alexander, noticing his dedication, started giving him bigger responsibilities, much to the dismay of the senior executives who despised Jay's rise. Then came the company's darkest hour. Anderson Enterprises was on the brink of collapse. A critical deal with international investors was failing, the stock prices were plummeting, and internal corruption was bleeding the company dry. The board members panicked. Even Alexander, the formidable CEO, had no solution. It was do or die. The boardroom was in chaos. Executives argued, blaming each other, their voices rising. Alexander sat at the head of the table, his fingers clenched together. silent but tense. He had never seen his empire crumble like this before. Then amidst the turmoil, a calm but firm voice cut through the noise. "Everyone, stop," Jay said, stepping forward. The room fell silent. The executives stared at him with disdain. "What do you want, kid?" one sneered. "This is beyond you." Jay ignored them. He walked over to the screen, where the financial crisis was displayed in graphs and charts. He analyzed it for a few moments, then turned to Alexander. "There's a hidden leak in our investments. Look here." Jay pointed at the numbers. "It's not a market crash, it's sabotage." Everyone frowned, skeptical. Jay continued. "Someone from inside is funneling money out and manipulating the stocks to drive us into the ground." He zoomed in on a transaction log. "And I know exactly who it is." A murmur rippled through the room. Alexander leaned forward. "Who?" Jay turned, locking eyes with one of the senior executives, Richard Davenport, one of Alexander's most trusted advisors. Richard's face turned pale. "You," Jay said coldly. Richard jumped to his feet. "That's ridiculous. How dare you accuse me?" Jay smirked and pressed a button. A series of documents appeared on the screen, revealing offshore accounts, unauthorized fund transfers, and private emails proving Richard's involvement. "You were planning to bankrupt Anderson Enterprises and sell it to our rival," Jay said. "But you made one mistake. You thought no one was paying attention." Richard's expression twisted in rage. He lunged forward, but security was already pulling him back. "You little—" Alexander stood up, his voice like thunder. "Get him out of my sight." As Richard was dragged away, the boardroom was left in stunned silence. Then slowly, applause erupted. Alexander walked over to Jay, his eyes filled with admiration. "You just saved the company," Jay smiled. "I just did what needed to be done." Under Jay's leadership, the company soared, becoming one of the top 5 corporations in the world. But through it all, Alexander always carried a void in his heart. The loss of his wife and son in a tragic accident 16 years ago. His son had been declared missing, presumed dead, but Alexander had never given up hope. Then fate played its hand. One evening, while searching through old files, an old orphanage record caught Alexander's eye. It listed a child found near the site of his family's accident, an infant boy with no known relatives. The birth date struck him like a thunderbolt. The child's age, the location, it all fit. His heart pounded as he dug further. He cross-checked with hospital records, old police reports, and finally he retrieved a small, dusty file from his personal archives. Inside was a single item, a baby bracelet engraved with the name Jason. His hands trembled, the name he had given his lost son. Unable to breathe, he rushed to Jay's office, bursting through the door. Jay, startled, stood up. "Sir?" Without saying a word, Alexander pulled out the bracelet from his pocket and placed it on the desk. Jay's eyes widened as he picked it up. "Where did you get this?" Alexander's voice was thick with emotion. "This was my son's. His name was Jason Anderson." Jay felt the ground beneath him shift. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. "My name, before the orphanage, it was Jason." Tears welled in Alexander's eyes. "You're my son." Jay staggered back, his mind racing. The man who had given him a new life, who had believed in him when no one else did, was the father he had never known. Overwhelmed, he fell to his knees. "Dad?" Alexander pulled him into an embrace. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you, but I promise I'll never let you go again." From that moment, the weight of being an orphan vanished. Jay was no longer alone. He had a family. He had a father. And together, father and son continued to lead Anderson Enterprises, proving that no matter where one starts, determination and love can change everything.